So, welcome. I'm glad to see a full room. We're going to talk about search, and as a quick intro, this is me, as you can see. I'm Nick VH on Twitter. If you want to follow me, feel free. If you don't, feel free. I like traveling. I'm originally from Belgium, and I now live in Boston. I came out Friday. It was pretty rough to actually get to the airport. I'm a senior search engineer in Acquia. That means that I can do everything that has something to do with search and the search infrastructure. Maybe you heard about Acquia Search. It's a hosted search and solution. I also have a website, and the live demo that I will do today is basically my website. I kind of reformed it to have some use cases, and we'll talk about how that works. Just for a fun fact, who knows where Belgium is? Which color? I'm a teacher, right?
They have awesome beer.
It's in one of those.
It's in one of those. No. Do you know where Drupal started? Right, so you know where that is, right?
Purple or blue?
Here, this is where it all started.
Will you be providing Stella?
What?
Will you be providing Stella?
No, better beer. Stella is not really good beer.
Really?
Yes. You should drink Chimay, or that's another talk.
Oh wow!
So this is the talk we're gonna talk about Drupal Search. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Drupal core search, or even further beyond that, and how many of you don't like it. The core search, it's not very intuitive. I'm gonna explain you briefly how it works, so at least you have an understanding why it sucks sometimes, or how you can improve it. So basically, cron, you run it, it goes through your content, 50 or 100 at a time, it does some processing, and it puts it in a database table as a unified content. How does it process it? It checks your HTML tags, it removes some accents, and it does some really basic stemming. That's Drupal core. For example, something in H1 is a little bit more important than something in H2. You can actually improve Drupal core a little bit if you use a module that's called Porter Stemmer, and that does better stemming for English language. For Dutch websites, use Grid. That doesn't work. But okay, that works. That's Drupal core. It works out of the box if you have basic needs, so it's quite okay. There are some problems. MySQL or SQL in general is not optimized for full text searches. Maybe you've seen it in HTML or whatever. You have to do percentage, the word percentage, to get something where that text is found in. There's some limited operators. You cannot do and or in the text box in Drupal core search itself, and it's not really scalable. Say you have 10,000 nodes, maybe more. Your MySQL will need quite a lot of power and time to find whatever you're searching for. Also, something very important, the dead ends. If people go to your search page or just the search box, they have to think, what am I actually searching for? They're typing in something, nothing appears, they go away. So that's quite critical. These are some functions that you can use if you're programming it. I'm going to skip this for now. There are some alternatives. I don't know if any of you worked with those two modules on the right already?
Yes.
Not too many yet? That's okay. There's also some other ones. A little bit less supported in Drupal. You can buy the Google appliance, and it kind of searches your website and it does everything for you. You could even use views to make your search page, but then it still uses the MySQL thing. Then there's this module. I'm a co-maintainer of this module. As I mentioned before, I did my internship, and during my internship in Acquia, I was allowed to become a co-maintainer. And this integrates Drupal with Apache Solr Solar is a search software. I'll explain later. And then there's this module, Search API, which basically replaces Drupal core search, and you can use different backends, for example Solar, but you can also still use MySQL or different technologies. The two main supported ones are Solar and MySQL. So what is this whole Solar thing? It's a Java application. It's a separate server. There's a bunch of mathematics involved to make it really quick. It supports replication. It's a really good tool for full text searches. There's two versions that you can use for Drupal. It's the 3.6 version or the 4. If you use Apache Solar, the 4 is supported. I don't think Search API supports Solar 4 yet. I'm gonna skip this also. So this is how your average Drupal website would probably work. This is where Drupal is hosted, Apache or whatever. You have your MySQL on a separate server. And then you have your search server also on a separate place. You don't want to put it on the same server because maybe you're overloading it and then that one computer will will have a very high load. Are there any questions about this so far? Like, is it kind of clear what Solar is?
I've seen in Drupal Solar is used a lot. Was there any specific reason compared to other alternatives like Speak Sets or whatever, or it was just a trend that took off?
There's a module for Sphinx, but the community never really catched up on it. There was a module for Lucene itself as well, but the same reason. People somehow went to Solar, and now there's a little movement to go to Elasticsearch, so maybe we'll see some evolution there. But for now, it's still Solar that has the best integration for Drupal. I don't know if that answers your question.
So, my question, so in this architecture, somebody runs a search, does that query go to the Solar server? Does it?
Yes.
And that's where the index lives?
Yes. So yeah, you have your website here, the user goes in, it asks something, and your Drupal site goes to Solar to say, give me all the all the things that I know of, and I would put them in the search results page. So I'll continue. One last question.
I want to find out when does Solar make sense? How big?
Is it okay if we put that in the end of the session? So this is what Solar comes with. If you want to install it, I have an install guide on my blog. It literally takes 5 minutes. You download it, you start it. It used to be much harder. The only problem is if you install it on a server, you might want to do it on Tomcat and it becomes a little bit more complex. Be careful, there's no security. I can actually show you, I can Google some string from the admin page and you'll be surprised how many free Solar indexes you get. You can use that, it's free. So, before I go to the live demo, I want to explain a little bit more about these two modules. Recently, we've been involved in an effort together with Search API to use the same schemas in Solar. So we used to have different things that you couldn't use the both modules together. It conflicted. Theoretically, you can now do that. We use the same schema, the same setup for Solar. So it makes your life as a developer a little easier, knowing that whatever you do with your Drupal site, your Solar will still work if you use one schema. There are some extension modules you can use, and I'll show them also live. You have search pages, facets. Is that a word that is like significant for a lot of people, or who doesn't know what a facet is? So a facet is, for example, if you search something in Google, and on the left you see like when do you want my content to be created, or in Amazon or eBay, what's the price range I want my content to be in. So you filter your results so you get a more select autocomplete attachments. Okay. Search API has some extra things. As I mentioned, there's the database search. Could be useful if you have a small site. There's some other things, geo as well. And then Apache Solar, it's the main one we support in Acquia. There's also statistics, there's also Apache Solar views. So I'm gonna skip this as well. So let's see if I can make this bigger. This is Drupal core search. This is my website, and I have literally no idea what's in my site because nothing shows up, and I have to search, for example, Solar. And you get some content, but it's not really pretty, right? So also, I'm not sure if I really have an example, but I can install Porter stemmer, and you can see what it does. It simplifies your verbs, so it brings back your verbs to the base word. So anyone that types in a verb in whatever form in the English shape will be returned results from that verb and not just that exact word. I'm not going to enable it right now. This is also quite useful module if you use Drupal core. It's called Reindex. As I mentioned, you have to use cron to go through your index process, which can be very slow, right? So let's see. So there's this comment.
Although they caveat about re-indexes, don't use it on a production site unless
Right.
you want to slow it down.
But if you want to be really quick, I'm just gonna show you how it looks like. So normally here, you see how many items you have indexed, and it tells you, please run cron to go through it. You can click that button 1,000 times. Or if you don't know how to use the command lines, you can use that command to quickly do it in development. As he said, don't do it in production because you're bombing your web server with requests. And then, I'm not sure what the command is.
Search dash index.
Yeah. See, there's 1,000 items. I'll wait a little bit. Wow. So you can use that to kind of get a little quicker, but we still didn't really improve our search. So let's go for the big change and install our Solar module. These are the two modules you can install and enable. It's called Apache Solar.
If you're going to use Search API with Solar, do you have to enable those two modules?
Yes, it's enable those two.
They're-
The configuration that's required to get that working is a little bit more work. But if you want to go through it with me later on, I can easily do that. For now, I'm going to focus on Apache Solar because it's just too much to do all of them. All right. So what we have here, this is now my Solar. I kind of cheated because I indexed before, because otherwise it's too much for this presentation. But now we can search for Solar Nick, for example. And you can see there's already some results, and it tries to do some spelling correction. Maybe you meant this or that. So that comes with, the module comes with Solr, so you can use that. And this is how it looks like, the admin pane. It's not very complex. You can say reindex everything, and then index everything. So I will do that for you.
Do you disable core search, or does this work along with
It works along with core search. It actually depends on core search because it uses the same templates. So if you change the template for one, it will change the template for the other one. Well, the output.
Could you disable core search if you just implemented the templates?
The templates come from core search, so you cannot disable it.
There's a desire in the community to make that work, but need it there.
Yeah. I mean, it would be good, we were talking about it, to just not depend on it. But yeah. So that was pretty quickly, 1,000 content items were indexed. Let's get it a little bit more juicy. Let's see. Yeah, I wanted to tell you this as well. Ignore this for a second. So what you see now is the default listing. If I'm searching something, I here have some attachments, my tweets. This is not really the content I want to show for the first time to people. I want to show my stories, my blog posts. So in the bias setting, you have here some settings. You can say, okay, my story, I think it's 8 times more important than all the rest. If we then take a look, we can see it's a little better. Now only my stories go to the top, and everything else is beneath that. You can play with this as much as you can. You can define your own importance. Maybe for you an H2 is more important than an H1. I mean, this is an iterational process. So,
Is that all Apache Solr? Because all that's possible with core search.
yes, it's possible with both. This is Apache Solr. It's a separate page. Core search does somewhat similar things. I'm not sure if you have to reindex. If you
You would have to reindex if you change the scoring field.
Yeah. For some of this here, you also have to reindex. For some others, you don't. Now your client is asking you, if I type in Barca or some other word, it needs to autocomplete. I want people to show me what's in there. So there's a module. There's a module for everything. It's called Apache Solr Autocomplete. Let's enable it. I will give you the list of all the modules I'm showing. It's going to be a drush makefile. If you make it, have a complete set of modules, including Drupal core, to play with yourself. So now you can see I have 91 results of Barcelona. There's one of Barcelona Tech. And apparently I use it in my cases. All right. So your client now asks you, I want the same thing like eBay. I want these things on the left, these facets. Okay. So we have a module called Facet API. Let me enable it. Wait a little bit. Okay. And again, I cheated a little bit. I already had the blog settings there. But we can see here on the left, we have filter by post date, filter by content type, and filter by my taxonomies, which is my blogging type. This is a really big list. You can even have it show more, it's even bigger. So apparently I loosely type in my terms. Your client says this is not usable. Please improve it. Okay, okay. So what you do here with the content type, which I already done, you don't want sometimes to select just one content type. You want to do an or. I want this or that. So maybe I went a little quick with what I did. Once the block is there, let me recap. You first have to enable the block. So if you go to the Solr settings, there's a new link here called facets. And here you can choose which blocks you want to be on your page. So you can have an updated date, you can have the language, depends on the fields you have in your content type, it will show you different facets. And you can configure them. There's a bunch of configurations you can do there. You can change the output, you can change the sort ordering. And here I said I want links with checkboxes instead of just links. And here I said I want them to be or, not and. So what happens if I now do this? Give me all the stories and all the pages. So this, in the search term, this is story or page. And it seems to be doing exactly that. All right, that's a little improvement. I want this list also to be better. You have any idea how to make this better?
Something in the settings.
How do you want to look at it? Like, how do you want to? Tag cloud. Thank you. Although I heard that's outdated. So, you know.
Do it anyway.
Do it anyway. True. We have a module. Tag cloud facets. Okay. So we go to search, Solr, settings, facets. Here my blogging types, my taxonomy. It's already set. So here I can select tag clouds. I can say what's the level I want. Maybe I just want like a really small amount of tags that are actually really important for that text that I have. I'm saying 4. This is also an or, because maybe you want multiple. All right, let's save it. You then go down. You can see that apparently Planet Drupal is the tag I use the most. Those are also the blog posts that went to the RSS feed of Drupal.org. I talk a lot about Drupal, Spain, apparently, and some other weird words. All right. Still a little bit too many terms. So I put my hard limits. I only want 20 terms, and see how that works. That's nicer, right? And if I then type in, which is Solr, you can see this also changed to content. Now we're stuck with this one. We want to improve this one. What would you want to do with this? Have any idea?
Ordering.
Ordering would be one. Like, it's not bad. I wouldn't say it's very user-friendly. Do you remember how Google does it? If you want to find something that's very recent or very old?
Past 24 hours.
Right, so like give everything from last week or everything from last month. So there's a module. Date facets. It's called date facets.
All these additional modules you're installing are specific to Apache Solr?
Not all of them. Facet API works for both Search API and Apache Solr. And if you have a Facet API module, most of the time it works for both backends. Not all of them. For example, this date facets is specific to Apache Solr because there's some weird, non-alterable way on how Search API does date queries, and they're working on it. But the module itself is not built for Apache Solr only. So in the name, it's not Apache Solr _date facets. It's just date facets, and we're working on making it compatible. So let's see how this date facets thing works. So now we have 4 items. This thing is called the date range. And here we can see, again, I did some work before. And I added, give me a facet for the past 6 months, a facet for the past 3 months, the past hour, past day, past week, past month, past year. You can add more yourself. I have to be honest, this is a patch that was written last week. It's not in the module itself, but it works and we'll commit it very soon. Okay, I'll save it. Take a look. And this is like a little cleaner. So give me everything from last month, which is only 1. And that's true. These are the only tags, it's just a story. So give me everything from the past 6 months. I mean, it's very nice to then go through your content a little easier. However, there's some things your client still doesn't like. This, the URL. It's ugly, right? And there are some things you can do.
Is there a module for that?
There's a module! And it's called Facet API Pretty Pots. It works for the both backends, Search API and Apache Solver. You can save it. The whole demo I'm giving doesn't include any custom code. So there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to do this. Yeah. So there's a little config page for this module, and you have to enable which backend you're using. So it's like a little trick you have to know. So you enable Apache Solver. There's some small options you can do. And if everything went well, we now have a very nice URL. And these 2 slashes are normal because I didn't search for something. If I, for example, search for Barcelona, and then I'm filtering, you can see site, search, Barcelona, and then your facets. Your client is a little happier now, it's not ugly. There is one thing that the Pretty Pots doesn't do, and that's the date facets. So while I was preparing for this demo, I noticed that if I clicked on my date facets with the Pretty Pots, the whole site crashed. So there's not a module for that, it's a patch. And that patch basically makes a little checkbox for that specific facet. Don't use clean URLs. Okay? So what it means if we do the same thing again. Story from past year. You can see it uses the Pretty Pots, and only for that facet. It still uses the little ugly thing, but it's better than a non-working website. Your client is still not happy. I'm sorry, the client is a really pain in the ass. He doesn't like how this is themed. Google does it better, he tells you. Okay. All right. Let's make it like Google. There's a module. It's called Rich Snippets. And it uses the RDF already built into your Drupal 7 site to know how to theme your search results. So you, don't look at this. This is my fault. But it looks already a little bit better. It's out of the box. It uses a different template, so it doesn't use a core search template anymore. And it's exactly how Google themes their search results. However, he's still not happy. He wants something different in the end. Okay.
A picture of a cat.
He wants with pictures. Yes, your client wants it with pictures, and he wants not the by Nick, and he doesn't like the link. Do you know the module called Display Suite?
Yeah.
If you don't, take a look at it. It's really nice to make display modes. So I'm gonna disable rich snippets. There's one module I skipped. It's called Purchasable Attachments, which can index your PDFs and whatever file attachments and make them look like search results attached to a certain node. I'm not enabling because then I have to reindex and it takes a little time. Right, so, Display Suite. So Display Suite comes with a little module called Display Suite Search. And it does a very nifty thing that I cooperated with the owner of Display Suite. And it takes the entity and it puts it into the Solr index as kind of a binary object. This is a big advantage over what Search API does. Search API you can use views, but it still does an entity load whenever your search results come back with an entity ID, and you still have to query your database to get the data. With this module, you take the object from Solr and you can team it. It's you do have to be aware that it's the data that you index and not the latest data. So it might be that there's like a little delay. For massive websites, it can speed up, like really. So you install this module, and then you can go to Manage Display. So this is how Display Suite looks. You can drag and drop fields to whatever region you want it to. So if you haven't seen this, this is the layout I chose. You can choose different layouts. And here, just like in core search, you have a display mode called Search Result. And I said, okay, I want the title, the URL, the number of comments, a little image, and maybe if there's a file, maybe whatever. Okay. And this is how it looks now. It's a little better, no?
So much better.
So much better.
Don't like the link.
Sorry?
Don't like the link.
You don't like the link? Okay. So let's remove the link.
Fire the client.
Fire the client, yes. You don't always have that
We
choice.
should have done that 4 months ago.
So we put the link to disable. You save it. Gone is the link. Okay. Let's see, there was something else I wanted to tell you before the questions. Ah, yes, one more. Okay, so client is happy with the layout, but I searched for installed Solr. What do we see in the first 2 search results?
Or
Installing Solr.
Install Apache Solr is on the 2nd place. It shouldn't be there. It should be in the 1st place. Your client complains. That has to be in the 1st place. And the reason why is that Solr does an OR search on the 2 words. And it doesn't care how close the words are to each other. So, again, like everything else, there's the module. And it's called Apache Solr Term Proximity. If you want the relevance of your search to be like vastly improved, you just have to install this module. It makes a really big difference, because for you it really does matter if your term is far away from each other or close to each other. So let's do that again. And now what we see is that the first 2 results are install Solr and not something that was not super related. That was about it for the live demo. There are some other modules that you could use. You can index terms, you can index users, commerce items with both of the backends. this link, I'll put the presentation online, is a link to a Drush make file, as I mentioned before. You can see which modules I used here, which patches I used. Still working on some of them, rich snippets, so it will help you in finding out how I did all of this. Are there any questions? The first one gets a book, apparently, yeah? I'm not sure if I should choose the best question or the first.
I liked this question before about the how many, where can you cut off the minimum results where it makes sense to go to solar, because I've had it come up with we do some work with Magento, which uses solar as well, or you can use solar. So I know with Magento, if we get more than a few thousand products, then there are people that are moving over to solar for that. So I mean, I guess I wonder, just to repeat his question, not stealing it, but
it's a very thin line, and it also depends on how big your requirements are. Maybe your client is okay with taking it like a little slower. Maybe he doesn't care too much. If he wants facets, you want to switch. It depends on your money, your budget.
I would say partially the answer depends on features like facets and how many simultaneous users you're going to have on the site. A lot of these queries will work just as fast, but where core search fails is if you've got 20 people searching at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Also, your indexing time. The person before you had a question that I postponed.
I'm sorry. Actually, it was that question.
Oh, okay.
And a follow-up is advanced search. What kind of features do we have for advanced?
For Solar or for Drupal core search?
Solar.
Well, most of the things I showed you is pretty advanced, I think. If you want to go really advanced, you have to start coding.
No. Like Google. If you go to advanced, it shows up all kinds of fields. And
there's no such thing.
There's no such thing as Solar.
The people don't do that. They just type in the word. I'm not sure how many people, maybe they do, maybe you can probably install something I'm not aware of. I know that Drupal core search has this advanced box. So you're pointing at this, right? This?
Yeah.
You can make a custom module that does exactly this, and that queries Solar. Instead of the facets, you say, okay, this should go to that field, and I want to filter on that.
Or just puts the facet blocks.
Put the facet blocks here. You can probably tweak it a little bit to be a form or something.
One thing that one of my clients needs is to be able to configure synonyms, like this generic drug name means the same thing as this brand name drug name. And
right.
You search for one, you get results for both. Is there a way to do that with a module, or can you only do that through the synonyms.txt file?
There is no way to do that with a module if you're using Solar to the full extent, because you cannot upload it from your Drupal site to Solar. Solar doesn't allow something like this. For the other people that don't know this, so it's synonyms. So it looks like this, and you can say, okay, gigabyte is the same as gigabyte and GIB, and you can configure different words to be the same in the end result. So.
How close are we to actually uncovering Google's PageRank algorithm?
I think I'll be there tomorrow, but I don't know.
You're this close.
Yeah, this good. No, it's still like a combined effort, and I'm not sure if a lot of people actually are waiting for it. This is not Google, right? This is your own little site that just needs a better search. It's tricky. Every site is different.
It's packaging.
Yeah.
If you enable Solar Search in Acquia, all they do is turn it on. You still have to configure your site with all these modules and everything, right?
Yes. We basically host Solar for you. So you don't have to worry about how it works. We replicate. I mean, that's also another topic, but we do like a bunch of load balancing, application.
Can you adjust weights for different fields? first part, and also for the autocomplete. This was autocomplete for suggested search terms. Is it also easy to have autocomplete suggest results for the current term?
If you want suggested results, you will probably have to write something custom that takes the term, searches it, returns it in your drop-down list. It's probably possible. It might be a good feature request to go to the issue queue.
I know it's possible to do it. The question is if there is a module for that or
not that I know of, but I could be wrong. There's like so many things out there.
With having different weights on different fields, for example, if the word is contained on the title, it gets higher. If it is in the body, then it goes lower.
That's already in the module,
Okay.
right? So, as I maybe showed, I don't have a lot of time left. So yeah, like these are some of the biases. Even if it's more recently created, it gets higher. And what you want is that the title is 21 times more important. Don't like you can do this custom. You can put custom values. 1,000 is not a valid value and will be ignored. Don't go over 21, like maybe 40 maximum, but it makes our life very hard as search admins to tell you no 1,000. It's I don't know the word in English. It's not scalable somehow. It does mathematics, and maybe your Solr server will be overloaded and just doesn't do it.
This is the only search result.
Yes.
If you're starting a small site and you're trying to, maybe have 500 articles, but over time you're going to grow, would you start with Search API or would you start with Drupal API? How would you progress this thing from ground zero?
It's a good question, and I'm not sure if I have a complete answer to that.
Right.
I think Search API is good if you start out. It has scalability issues, or at least we've seen some scalability issues if you go really up to a lot of nodes. The good thing is that facets are the same, so I think switching is quite easy, except for Search API has views integration, so your search pages will be a little different.
So you think you would start with Search API as opposed to Drupal?
If you know that your site will have search, I would start by Apache Solr just directly and get over with the pain. And then
What's the next step? So if we start with Search API and then move to Solr, what's above that?
Above that.
Yeah, what's more beefy than Solr? I mean, if what's the maximum capacity for Solr?
I haven't seen a client reach it.
Okay.
We have 4,000 clients using it. There's some that really push it, but you just add more slaves. And it's really quick. I mean, it's crazy quick. It's
historically bad solution.
Well, it's a denormalized database, so it scales horizontally. And maybe you can compare it to maybe Mongo. I don't know. There's some other solutions out there.
Okay.
But for search, I think it's one of the better ones together with Elasticsearch. Last question, I think, or I have 4 minutes.
Okay, quick question. DrupalCommerce.org is running on Aquid. We love the hosting.
Yeah.
And we're using your Solr search. Would autocomplete fail because we have 15,000 taxonomy terms and 15,000 nodes? And
that's possible, yeah.
Okay, so the autocomplete probably not a good solution for a larger site?
To be honest, I haven't went into a deep dive of that module, and I've been intending to improve it.
I'm just
it's not on my top priority.
Right, I'm wondering if it loads the entire list with the page and waits for JavaScript to just bring it down or make it Ajaxifies it in.
Yeah, there are some weird things that the module does. It doesn't use the spelling. It uses the spelling correction to actually get back the data. And we know that in Solr, spelling correction is one of the most intensive operations. However, Solr 4 improved that vastly. It doesn't have a separate spell checker index anymore. It's inside the real index. So maybe when we upgrade to Solid 4, your problems will be gone.
I've used it on a site with 250,000 nodes on it in that.
The autocomplete?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So maybe it's something that you do internally, post-processing, I don't know. I don't know who deserves the book, actually. I didn't. Who wants it? Josh Usick. Who was the first in the question then?
Yeah, the Josh problem.
You can have it.
Thank you.